Hello, Jodi.
Hi, Brad.
Welcome to our podcast, Unsolicited Conversations with J and B.
J and B.
How's my favorite nurse practitioner doing?
You know, Brad, it's been a rough week, and I think today we're gonna go into the frustrations of the week.
The frustrations from a nurse practitioner standpoint?
Absolutely, and from a mom standpoint, and from a just a human standpoint. So this week, one of my frustrations was dealing with a patient who she was diagnosed with sleep apnea. She's in her early 40s and got her on therapy. Obviously, everything that I talk about in my clinic every day, the 3 medicines that I prescribe every day are sleep and effective sleep. And if you need treatment like CPAP or BiPAP or an ASV to help open up the airway or make sure that the brain is getting oxygen, all those things, that to me is a medicine, but not like a pill that you swallow. So
sure. Okay.
We have to move every day because the more we move, the better our muscles kind of fatigue and our brain fatigues, and then we sleep better. Mm-hmm. And then we have to eat every day, because if we don't eat, then we're not able to move. And if we don't move, then we're not able to sleep. And it's this kind of vicious cycle, right? Yeah. So those are the 3 things that I focus on every day. And I started this individual on CPAP, effectively treating her. Mm-hmm. And her, what we look at as therapeutic status. So their apnea hypopnea index is within normal limits with treatment.
Okay.
So that means they have an AHI of less than 5. And that is treated. So I'm like, well, why are you still tired? You know, you're fine tuning individuals as they come in, and you're like, okay, you're using your device every night. You got all green arrows, you know, you filled out your green circle on your watch. But she's like, I'm just still really tired. And I'm like, well, tell me a little bit more about why you're still tired, when the numbers or the objective data is telling me that you're using it every night. And I look and I'm like, you know, you're only getting about 5 hours of sleep, effective sleep with your CPAP. So I'm like, this is one area that we could focus on and try to figure out how to improve this. And, well, I work full time. I'm a single mom. I work full time. I have a 15-year-old son who, you know, is involved in different sports, and obviously they goes to school still. And I have to take him to hockey tonight from 10:15 to 11:15. And I said,
wait a minute, time out. How old is he?
15.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Okay, so that was my reaction when I was like, I said 10:15 to 11:15, like during the day, like AM?
I thought Shasta had rules around that or something.
So our club sports, this is not high school, right? And I was like, I am, as a provider, we have a shared decision together. We work together to achieve goals. Mm-hmm. It's not all about just you. I can't put it on. I can make recommendations, but I can't put it on you. How can I best support you? And I'm like, 10:15 to 11:15, I freaked out. I was like, are you kidding me?
Did you throw a punch?
No, I threw the F-bomb, and I should not have. I think I said
sometimes a few F-bombs here and there are healthy.
But I was like, I can't. And I'm like, well, I don't think I would be able to allow my child to play for that organization anymore. I can completely understand ice time and not having enough, you know, ice in this area for the different organizations that are out there.
Okay.
And then this just got me thinking, and I think I ranted to you a little bit on the phone. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is what we're going to talk about. Because look at the downstream effects of what happened without access. So athletic organizations don't have access to care or their ability to play. Healthcare, we don't have access to providers. And then when we do get access and it's late, look how it's impacting the overall health of not just that one individual that I took care of, but that whole team. So you have a whole bunch of 15-year-old kids who are playing late at night. They're exercising within 2 hours of sleep. They should already be asleep anyway at 10:15 at night. And then their sympathetic activation is going. And then the parents, because they're 15, so they're not driving. So the parents are driving home late at night. They're expected to be awake late at night. And it's impacting their health. It's impacting the child's health. And the downstream effects to that are increased risk of individuals getting into a car accident on the way home because it's late.
Yeah,
they're tired.
Yeah, yep.
They're already tired because they already have an underlying condition. They're already tired. And then the children are not getting to bed soon enough. So they get up for school the next day. Their academics go downhill. They aren't getting enough sleep. So therefore, more prone to injury. So this individual has been sick more times this year than previous years. Now undergoing physical therapy because of some sort of injury, a knee injury or shoulder injury or whatever. But now then there's more appointments for both individuals to go to because they're sick.
Yeah.
And they had an injury. And this is all due to lack of sleep. And the society's still believing that we got to go, 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 go. And there is no rest for anybody. And then the healthcare system is taxed even more. Providers are taxed even more.
Yeah.
Individuals are taxed from an income standpoint anymore. And it's just a vicious cycle.
Well, it makes me wonder.
Literally a vicious cycle.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder, are we focusing too much, especially when you look at club sports? Are we looking too much, are focusing too much on athletics and not enough on school?
On academics.
On academics was important. You know, our buddy Matthew Walker would say, the author of Why We Sleep.
Yeah.
Who's a phenomenal PhD. It's a great book, by the way. I'm going to paraphrase for him, but he would say this is a recipe for a shit show.
I mean, it is a shit show, and I am all for obviously kids being athletic and in sports. I think that we have to teach our youth how to move and how to be active in the appropriate hour time frame. I think one thing that Matthew Walker focused on just in the last few years, we've tried to bump back school times. So high school would actually go later, knowing that they do have events that last later in the evening. So their school day should start a little bit later in the day. Mm-hmm. And then our youth, like my son, who doesn't go to school until 8:45 in the morning, he's up early because he is younger and he's going to bed earlier. And so they want to push the younger kids to go to school a little bit earlier, and then your middle school and high school. So you have that natural kind of sleep circadian rhythm that works with lifestyles, right? I think I do agree with that. I think I used to believe like, no, I don't really like that. But I do, because I've always been kind of a natural early bird when I was in high school. But I can see now with kids, my daughter, who's now 13, having practices a little bit later. I wish she could go to school a little bit later than my son, because she is up a little bit later than he is.
Yeah.
But should we be focusing on the club sports? I mean, I grew up in the time frame, and I know you grew up in the time frame where it was like, you play the sports in high school that are the 3 or the 4 sports that you can, and there's no such thing as club sports. Mm-hmm. And so you go to practice right after school, and then you're usually home by 6 o'clock at night. That's dinner time. You eat as a family, and then you do your homework and you go to bed. Both of my kids are in club sports. One of the reasons a while back we transitioned to a different club was I didn't really care for the time frame of swim, and it was all about access to pools. And the practice was for my 10 and 11-year-old was later into the night, and I'm like, we weren't getting home until 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, she needs to be in bed. She is a cancer survivor. My whole mission in life since her diagnosis has been, what do we do to optimize our health to the fullest, to be able to live life to the fullest, be as healthy as we can, and not have to worry or stress about what if, or what if the cancer comes back? What if this happens? If we're living the healthiest life we can, and that comes to sleep, movement, daily nutrition, just living your life. And so I did move clubs because I liked the time frame. And I know that as she gets older, the time frame will get a little bit later because that's just, again, access to pools.
Yeah.
Do I remove her from that situation? I don't know, because exercise for her is a natural anti-anxiety.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have to take anti-anxiety medication because exercise is her medicine. Movement is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a vicious kind of battle, I think, that parents face every day. And I know that this mom, she's a single mom, and she just wants her son loves this sport. And I'm just going, I now have to take care of both of you. I'm like, you are not getting your sleep because you're taking your son to that sporting event. It's late at night. And how do I help you the most by getting you more sleep? Because I know that will grossly impact what your day-to-day is like.
Right.
But also still, respect that your son loves this sport and he's getting activity every day, but it's probably not to his benefit because he's injured more, not sleeping as much. And like, what are they getting out of it at 10:15 at night?
Well,
like,
so
how effective is that?
Here's kind of some of my, over the years, I've kind of observed this, and it kind of bothers me. I think parents sometimes put too much emphasis on sports, especially club sports, when they're so-called competitive. Mm-hmm. And they actually think, and I saw this over and over again, they actually thought that their son or daughter was going to play Division I or pro ball. It's like, yeah.
I mean, my son is.
Of course it is. But it's, when you take a look at the stats, the reality of that is very, very slim.
Right.
I mean, I looked at one time, how many guys go on to play high school football, go on to play Division I or pro football?
Right. Right.
It's like, one in probably 100,000. I mean, it's just, or 1 in 20,000. It's really small. So are we focusing in the right directions? We're stringing our kids out. We're dragging them everywhere, up late at night, thinking that this kid is going to benefit at some point and maybe get a scholarship for a Division I program.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Not so much. So you kind of have to step back and wonder, what are we doing to kids today?
Mm-hmm. But are we focusing in on like, this makes them happy?
Sometimes I don't think it does.
If we look back on our last podcast where we talked about why young men struggle,
mm-hmm.
Did those kids do certain things that got them out of the house that involved them in a team sport and learning how to communicate with their teammates? They learned how to be a team player, not as much of an individual, like me versus them. It's more that team and community approach. Because I feel like community really drives an individual. I mean,
and I'm all for it. I mean, look, I played sports my entire life, and I know the benefit sports brings about. Mm-hmm. But today, look at it, Jodi. I mean, too many times high schools will focus on actually recruiting kids into their high school program. Mm-hmm. We want kids to specialize. I know, for example, a football coach hated it when we played basketball.
Yeah.
They want you to focus just on football or just on basketball or just on baseball. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think that's healthy for kids either, because the reality is they're probably not going to end up playing professional ball anyway.
Right.
So let them play. Yeah. Let them have fun. Let them enjoy the sport. And let camaraderie, learning how to, it teaches you how to win, but also teaches you how to lose gracefully.
Right.
There's a lot that can be learned from sports, especially, I believe, and young women too, but for young men, it does a lot.
Yeah.
And I'll point this out too. It's funny. I loved it when Dylan, my son, would get, like, he wrestled and he would be exhausted. And so I knew when the young man is exhausted, he ain't doing shit he's not supposed to be doing.
Oh, yeah.
So
exactly.
There's benefit in that too.
I mean, I think that's probably one thing that parents look at too, is if they're involved in some sport, then they're with their friends. We know exactly where they are and they're not off. I mean, I grew up in the middle of nowhere in the country, and I did a lot of things. And
do we need a podcast about that?
I mean, we may have to have a podcast about that. But yeah, I am glad that my kids are involved. I do sometimes wonder, because we are involved in club swim, club baseball. We have Y basketball. My son loves sports, and he's driven by that. Like, he academic wise, he goes to school. Does he like school? No. And he's a lot like my brother. growing up. My brother did not care for school. He would have much rather been out working on the ranch and working, and that's how he is to this day. But again, you have to allow kids to follow their passion. I'm not pushing him like you don't have to get straight A's, but you have to go to, he does have to go to school. Do I push him a little bit in baseball? My husband's the coach, and we do club baseball. Yeah. But and then we just started this strength and conditioning program because I am an advocate for kids to learn how to strength train appropriately at a younger age. I think it's beneficial when you look at health aspects down the line. So I'm an advocate for that, but then they're doing it after practice, and it's from 7 to 7:30, and I'm like, I think we need to do it earlier. I'm struggling with that time because he's 11, and I'm like, we really should do it earlier in the day because that's just too close to bedtime. He gets home late. He's energized. Like, he had so much fun, which, I mean, made my heart happy because it was it's a CrossFit program or similar. Right. I mean, they do strength and conditioning at the CrossFit gym that I work out at. And it makes my heart happy because he loved it. But then I'm like, oh, we may have had you up a little too late. And, it's this vicious kind of game then that you play in your head, like what is right. And we have to listen to our bodies. And we're teaching the kids that you have to listen to your body. And when you are tired, please let us know. Because I don't want to push them so much. But I also, if they've committed to something, that's the other rant that I have this week. If you've committed to something, signed up for a sport, and you said, yes, I want to do this, do you force them into playing the rest of that season or make them because you paid the money and they committed to it in November, but then the season, say it didn't start until January, and then they had a change of heart in January. Do you say, yeah, okay, I'm going to let you quit? Or do you say, no, you committed in November and now you are decommitting and you're letting all of these other players down because they counted on you. They were counting you as a player, and now they're, struggling to recruit more players because they thought they already had a full team. So how do you handle a situation like that?
Well, so it's funny because I've had to deal with that before. I used to tell my son, if he ever thought about quitting, things weren't going well for him, I always try to make him gut it out originally, just because I think there's something we learn in terms of resiliency from dealing with shit in life that you don't like, but learning to gut it out. And there was a saying that my dad taught me, winners never quit and quitters never win. So there's some of that instilled with me as well. And I always be like, Dylan, you signed up for this. You're going to do it. This, you wanted to do it. Now be committed to it. Yep. At the same time, I do worry about if, for example, let's give an example. If your son or daughter's grades are failing because of that sport and you're struggling and that child's struggling in an area, is it time to pull back potentially from 3 sports to 1 or 2 to help that kid academically catch up to get where they need to be? Because what I've seen, I did help coach lacrosse at a very low level because I knew nothing about it at Air Academy High School. And I saw young men that played varsity, and some of them were pretty good athletes. Yeah. But here's the fallacy of what they believed. They thought they could go on and play Division I. And there was one kid who wanted to play for DU, Denver University, great lacrosse program. But guess what? First of all, I don't know if he could have played for him anyway, but guess what? His grades suck so bad that DU would have never accepted him anyway. Right. So do we promote sports at the cost of grades where the kids can't go anywhere anyway because they're not academically prepared for it? Right.
I think that's where I would draw the line. Like, if you committed and then you decommit only because you want to do another sport, I would be like, you committed to this one first. Yeah. There's no way you're going to go into another sport and then let your teammates down. Right. If that team and that coach was relying on you, and then you're like scrambling for new players at that point in time. So that's a bit of a struggle. But if it's great, academics will always come first. Sure. So if I do see that my kids are failing in some way or not able to get their homework done, not able to get their reading done, those are the stipulations. You have to do all of these things before you can play your video game, before you can go play your sport, before you can go do this. So academics will definitely come first. And then I will let you say, all right, we're going to give up one thing. what is that one thing that you're going to give up? And sometimes it might end up being, you know, that video game that you've been focusing
that
on.
Boys spend way too much time.
Exactly.
Many
So,
times. Yeah, exactly.
Or, you know, my daughter loves to, you know, get on her phone and look at Taylor Swift or make a video or.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, well, we would give up this to focus on studying instead of doing this that is not providing you any educational value at this point in time. And then if your grades are still failing, then we would talk about what sport we have to give up for sure.
I had a great mentor one time who once told me there's always time to do those things that you think are important.
Yes.
We all have 24 hours in the day, right? And so when I didn't do something he wanted me to do, his response was, you didn't consider it a priority for me. Obviously, you didn't get it done because it wasn't important enough to you for you to do. So I think we have to, you know, young men and women have got to say to themselves, what's important to me? With the help of their parents and understanding that school is important and not so much of a priority in other areas. And so when you look and scrolling through Taylor Swift stuff or you're a young man on Call of Duty all night long, you got to kind of help coach your
Brad. It's Fortnite.
Is that what it is now?
Yes.
Sorry. You got to help coach your kids and say, look, some of this is fine. Everything in moderation is great.
Yeah.
But you're sacrificing something in place of this. Do you want to sacrifice school? Not a good idea. Do you want to sacrifice even athletics that you want to be good at the cost of that?
Yeah.
So it's all about making decisions and prioritizing what's important.
It's a balancing act.
Sure.
And I think something that I talk about in my clinic day every day with patients, because we have to prioritize sleep because that is our health. And I think we have to prioritize movement every day because that, again, is our health. And we have to prioritize what we eat because if you're eating junk food all day long, then that's not going to benefit you in any way when it comes to a movement or a sleep standpoint. So those are three things that I think are very doable.
Yeah.
Kind of not no-brainers, but try to simplify it. Don't complicate it. You don't have to have a 5-course meal every meal.
I think it's a struggle for families, Jodi. Think about the average family today. They have to have dual income. Both mom and dad have to work.
Yep.
You know, the kid comes home at 3:30 from school, whatever. He's got soccer practice, ice practice, or hockey practice, baseball, whatever it may be. What are we doing as parents? So because parents don't have time to supervise some of the things that their kids are involved in, what they're doing all the time. Parents are tired. They're strung out. You want a healthy meal? Yeah, that's kind of hard when you come home at 6 o'clock in the evening, both of you dead tired to figure out what you're going to do. Prepare a healthy meal. Worry about getting your kid to soccer practice on time. Worried about picking them up. Trying to figure out what's homework is due. Figuring out if your kid needs a tutor. Figuring out what academically is going on with your kids. We seem to be strung out big time in families today to the point where some cases we're neurotic. I mean, we're so stressed and so much anxiety.
Right.
Because I don't really think as human beings we were designed to operate this way. Hey, Jodi, it's been great today.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed our conversation, some really interesting things. And one thing I'll say about you, I don't always agree with you.
I know.
But I love the banter. I love talking to you. And I love learning different perspectives of what you think and how you think. And it's been some really fun, interesting conversations.
Yeah.
And I also believe if more people with opposing views sat down and talked in a rational way and listened to somebody else and their point of view, we might all get along a little better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I appreciate you. I really do.
I appreciate you, Brad.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for joining us with the J&B Unsolicited Conversations. When you take a look at the video, please like, subscribe, and make a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And if there's any comments that you want us to change or a subject matter you want us to look at, we'd love to do that. Wouldn't we, Jodi?
Absolutely. We love to hear a lot of feedback from you. So
thank you very much and have a great day.
thank you.